Well, here on The Lip, we've reported on the U.S. government's lack of transparency when it comes to the Trans-Pacific Partnership and what's been leaked. This document, it's given many cause for concern. Well, now some of the countries involved, including the United States, have released all 2,000 pages of the trade agreement for the public to see. The TPP is the biggest trade deal that the U.S. has negotiated since the North American Free Trade Agreement in 1994. New Zealand was the first, as reported by The Guardian, to leak this document.
Yes.
We now have it. You and I have covered this. You know, a lot of concern was that we don't even have the pages in front of us. Nobody knows what's in it. And there was a lot of fear surrounding it. We have some points to point out that we do know are in it. What do you make of this, though? This release coming ahead of even Congress getting their hands on it to do that 90-day takeover, if you will, and try to thwart what they don't like in it.
Well, it was very important that finally some of the governments put the whole document forward. Mainly, the core things were already known because of the leaks that happened and that we covered before, but we confirmed some. We know that thousands of items will get rid of the tariff on international trade. Now we're trying to push for positive things like the abolishment of child labor in some countries, specifically targeting Vietnam. But also we see that the pharmaceuticals still get the edge over the developing countries that might delay access to very critical cancer-curing drugs in this case.
That's right. So just a few points to note that are in the Trans-Pacific Partnership that we found out. We're bringing them straight to you. And my colleague is right that the TPP, they've given this 8-year protection to Big Pharma, essentially. And that's one aspect that's very bad. Big Pharma was originally calling for a 12-year protection. So what it does is it protects them from cheaper competitors, from biologics that are ultra-expensive medicines produced in living cells. That was one aspect of it. So it's saying that 8 years, these new little companies can't come up and patent anything against Big Pharma. That's one aspect. Also, another aspect that you mentioned, that mechanism to dispute between foreign investors and government. So should there be ever a case that would arise between a foreign investor and a government, there's an arbitration agreement now that's binding. Do you want to talk about that?
Exactly, and this is something that Elizabeth Warren has been speaking against for a long, long time, and it's this idea that there's a instance where there's an arbitration where a corporation might have power over a state. And this is very important because in cases of copyright or the cases that we have internet copyright infringement where they're asking a whole website to be brought down only because one single page, cases like that are the ones that this body will arbitrate and decide if the corporation or the state has precedence on the case. I think this is very, very dangerous because immediately makes a corporation really, really powerful. And it was devised specifically, in this case for the TPP, to protect, say, tobacco companies and the big companies. Because, say, a country decides to enact a law that restricts the consumption of tobacco because it's a public health issue. Well, the tobacco company has an instance where they bring forward their losses because of this legislation and forces the state to refund this to the corporation. And I think that's very dangerous.
Right, I totally agree with you. And I think that the Obama administration has a very stiff right and a role to play. They need to come out and say, this is what this means for American families, this is how it benefits you, this is how it doesn't. And these 2,000 pages, this innocuous document to sift through, we're sort of getting bits and pieces. One good thing that it does do, it eliminates tariffs from beef, dairy products, wine, sugar, rice, horticulture, seafood, also resources and energy. So we might be seeing cheaper products because those tariffs will be eliminated on a lot of things. That's one good thing.
One thing that I would like to say before we close it up is the fact that once you look into the process of how the TPP was conceived and you look at what the Obama administration did, there's something very, very telling of who is going to be benefiting of this agreement the most. President Obama in his first term abolished a law that prohibited lobbyists from being part of executive panels that decide and shape this type of policy. Well, after he abolished that, we figured and we now know that 85% of the members in these panels that shaped the TPP were lobbyists for corporations. So we know that those who were shaping the whole process had the interest of corporations at heart. So it's hard for me to believe that the TPP is something that is going to benefit the regular citizen, not only of the United States, but of all the other countries that are prescribed to this agreement.
It's benefiting the corporate citizen and the lobbyist. Good to know. If you can get your hands on the comprehensive and independent version of the TPP, strike up your own analysis and let us know what you think in the comments below. While you're at it, be sure to check out the rest of our channel and, of course, subscribe to The Lip TV for more.